So last time we've read part 1 and part 2 of this book about Ionith. In part 2, they started to conquer Akavir, but it doesn't go as planned really because of bad weather. Now part 3, the destruction of the expeditionary force. It doesn't sound good. The winter weather in Akavir was also much more severe than expected. Due to the supply problems and addition of thousands of civilians, the expeditionary force was on tight rations. To make matters worse, the Tsaeshi raiders returned in force and harried any foraging and scouting parties outside the walls of the two cities. Several watch forts on the road between Septimia and Ionith were captured during blizzards, and the rest had to be abandoned as untenable. As a result, communication between the two cities had to be conducted entirely by magical means, a continuing strain on the Legion's battle mages. On the fifth sun's dawn, a large entourage of Tsaeshi arrived at Ionith claiming to bring a peace offer from the Tsaeshi king. That night, these treacherous envoys murdered the guards at one of the city gates and led in a strong party of their comrades who were waiting outside the city walls. Their clear intention was to assassinate the emperor, foiled only by the vigilance and courage of troopers of the 10th who were guarding his palace. Once the alarm was raised, the Tsaeshi inside the city were hunted down and killed to the last man. Needless to say, this was the end of the negotiations between the emperor and the Tsaeshi. The arrival of spring only brought worse troubles. Instead of the expected spring rains, a hot, dry wind began to blow from the east, continuing with varying strength through the entire summer. The crops failed, and even the river, which in the previous year had been navigable by small boats far upstream of Ionith, was completely dried up by sun's height. It is unknown if this was due to a previously unknown weather pattern unique to Akavir, or if the Tsaeshi manipulated the weather through magical means. The Commission leans towards the former conclusion, as there is no direct evidence of the Tsaeshi possessing such fearsome arcane power, but the latter possibility cannot be entirely ruled out. Due to prolonged bad weather, the supply fleet was late in setting out from Black Harbor. It finally left port in early second seed, but was again severely mauled by storms and limped into Septimia 8 weeks later, much reduced. Because of the increasingly desperate supply situation in Akavir, the Emperor dispatched most of his battle mage corps with the fleet to assist in weathering the storms, which seemed likely to continue all summer. At this time, the Council urged the Emperor to abandon the invasion and to return to Tamriel with the expeditionary force, but he again refused, noting that the fleet was no longer large enough to transport all 4 legions at once. The Commission agrees that leaving 1 or more legions behind in Akavir to await the return of the fleet would have damaged army morale. The Commission also notes that the loss of 1 legion would have been preferable to the loss of the entire expeditionary force. It is the unanimous opinion of the Commission that this was the last point at which complete disaster might have been averted. Once the decision was made to send the fleet back for reinforcements and supplies, events proceeded to their inevitable conclusion. From this point on, much less is known about what transpired in Akavir. With most of the battle mages assisting the fleet, communication between the expeditionary force and Tamriel was limited, especially as the situation in Akavir worsened and the remaining battle mages had their powers stretched to the limit, attending to all the needs of the legions. However, it appears that Tsaeshi may also have been actively interfering with the mages in some unknown manner. Some of the mages in Akavir reported their powers being abnormally weak, and the mages of the War College in Cyrodiil, who were handling communications for the Council, reported problems linking up with their compatriots in Akavir, even between master and pupil of long training. The Commission urges that the War College makes a particular study of the arcane powers of the Tsaeshi should the Empire ever come into conflict with Akavir again. What is known is that the Emperor marched out of Ionith in mid-sun's height, leaving only small garrisons to hold the cities. He had learned that the Tsaeshi were massing their forces on the other side of a mountain range to the north, and he intended to smash their army before it could gather full strength and capture their supplies, of which it was in desperate need. This rapid advance seems to have taken the Tsaeshi by surprise. The expeditionary force crossed the mountains and fell on their camp, routing the Tsaeshi army and capturing its leader, a noble of some kind. But the Emperor was soon forced to retreat, and the legions suffered heavily on their retreat to Ionith. The Emperor now found himself besieged in Ionith, cut off from the small garrison at Septimia, which was also besieged. By this time it seems that the efforts of the few remaining battle mages were devoted entirely to creating water to keep the army alive. a skill not normally emphasized at the War College. The fleet had arrived safely back to Black Harbor thanks to the Battle Mage Corps, but all attempts to return to Akavir were frustrated by a series of ever more savage storms that battered Asroniat throughout the rest of 289. The Council's last contact with the Emperor was in early Frostfall. By Evening Star, the Council was extremely worried about the situation in Akavir and ordered the fleet to sail regardless of the risk. Despite the continued storms, the fleet managed to press on to Akavir. Hope was raised when contact was made with the Emperor's battle mage, who reported that Ionith still held out. Plans were quickly laid for the expeditionary force to break out of Ionith and fall back on Septimia, where the fleet would meet them. This was the last direct contact with the expeditionary force. The fleet arrived in Septimia to find its garrison under savage assault from a large Saeshi army. The battle mages with the fleet threw back the enemy long enough for the survivors to embark and the fleet to withdraw. The few survivors of the expeditionary force who reached Septimia told how the Emperor had led the army out of Ionith by night 2 days earlier, successfully breaking through the enemy's lines but then being surrounded by overwhelming forces on the road to Septimia. They told of a heroic last stand by the Emperor and the 10th Legion, which allowed a remnant of the 14th to reach Septimia. 2 survivors of the 10th arrived in Septimia that night, having slipped through the enemy lines during their undisciplined victory celebration. These men confirmed having seen the Emperor die, cut down by enemy arrows as he rallied the 10th shield wall. At least that's a true Emperor's death, a glorious one. Part 4. Conclusion. The Commission believes that the invasion of Akavir was doomed from the start for several reasons, none of which could have been foreseen beforehand, unfortunately. Despite extensive intelligence gathering, the expeditionary force was clearly unprepared for the situation in Akavir. The unexpected weather which plagued the army and navy was particularly disastrous. Without the loss of a majority of the Far East Fleet during the campaign, the expeditionary force could have been withdrawn in 289. The weather also forced the Emperor to assign most of his battle mage corps to the fleet, leaving him without their valuable assistance during the fighting which soon followed. And of course the unexpected drought which struck Ionith during 289 dashed the hopes of supplying the army locally and left the expeditionary force in an untenable situation when besieged Ionith. The Saeshi were also much stronger than intelligence reports had suggested. Information on the size of the army the Saeshi were eventually able to field against the expeditionary force is vague, as the only serious fighting took place after regular communications were cut off between the Emperor and the Council. Nevertheless, it seems likely that the Saeshi outnumbered the Emperor's forces by several times, as they were able to force 4 crack legions into retreat and then keep them under siege for several months. As was stated previously, the Commission declines to criticize the initial decision to invade Akavir. Based on what was known at the time, the plan seemed sound. It is only with the benefit of hindsight does it become obvious that the invasion had very little chance of success. Nevertheless, the Commission believes several valuable lessons can be taken from this disaster. First, that Saeshi may have extremely powerful arcane forces at their command. The possibility that they may have manipulated the weather across such a vast region seems incredible, and it should be noted that 3 commissioners strongly objected to this paragraph even being included in this report. The Commission believed that this matter deserves urgent investigation. The potential danger is such that even a slight possibility must be taken seriously. Second, that Saeshi appeared to possess no navy to speak of. The expeditionary force was never threatened by sea. The Far East Fleet fought nothing but the weather. Indeed, initial plans called for a portion of the fleet to remain in Akavir for use in coastal operations, but in the event there were very few places where the large vessels of the fleet could approach in the land, due to the innumerable reefs, sandbars, islands, etc. that infested the coastal waters north and south from Septimia. Due to the utter lack of trees in the plain around Septimia and Ionith, the expeditionary force was unable to build smaller vessels which would have navigated the shallow coastal waters. Any future military expeditions against Akavir would do well to consider some way of bringing a means for inshore naval operations in order to exploit this clear advantage over the Saeshi, an advantage that was sadly unexploited by the expeditionary force. Third, much longer-term study needs to be made of Akavir before another invasion could even be contemplated. The information gathered over the 4 years prior to the invasion was extensive, but clearly inadequate. The weather conditions were completely unexpected, the Saeshi much stronger than expected, and the attempted negotiations by the Emperor with the Tsaeshi a disaster. Akavir proved alien beyond expectation, and the Commission believes any future attempt to invade Akavir should not be contemplated without much greater knowledge of the conditions, politics, and peoples of that continent than presently obtained. Finally, the Commission unanimously concludes that given what we know now, any attempt to invade Akavir is folly, at least in the present state of the Empire. The Empire's legions are needed at home. One day, a peaceful, united Empire will return to Akavir and exact severe retribution for the disaster at Ionith and for our fallen Emperor, but that day is not now, nor in the foreseeable future. Now, which king died? Which emperor? Uriel V. I guess he was, I don't know who preceded him. This was also a very interesting story about Akavir, which still remains a mysterious province that Bethesda could work with in a previous or future Elder Scrolls game. Because it sounds to me like the Imperial still want to invade it, even have their revenge. But not at this time, because, you know, the Empire is in turmoil. A lot of problems as it is. Okay, let's dump this book again. I've read it. And the other books. And now we're finally going to leave this shop. Now let me see, what time is it? It's 5 p.m. The next thing I'm going to do is to talk to these people. At least the ones I haven't seen yet.
Me children are starving, please help.
Go ahead, please.
Have I met you before? I did. I always forget. So various Etius,
Have you heard any word about the other provinces?
They say that King Halson has made an alliance with House Dress.
Who the hell are you? Antus
Together they
Vannon.
depart the carcass of ruined Indorant.
Antus Vannon, retired. Sleep late and read trashy books. I don't keep up with the Mages Guild affairs anymore.
I haven't met you yet. What can you tell me about the city?
I spent 40 years at the Arcane University. Good years, but I don't miss it. Now I'm completely useless, and proud of it.
You're with the Mages Guild, huh? You look kinda high, like you have a high position with your white robe.
He seems that these are turbulent.
What are you even doing here? Shopping? Okay, so it's 6 p.m. People are leaving the district. Shops are closing. Now I haven't been here yet. The Copious Coinpurse. Ushija, I've met you before. So that will be my next stop. I hope it's still open. It is. So let's go check it out. Now, Thoronir is under investigation of a few people in the market district, and officially in my investigation, because I have a quest, unfriendly competition, and I need to tail him. But let's just visit his shop before we do anything else. Books on display. But let's go talk to him before we do anything else. He's a small one, isn't he? I have met him before, I think at the inn. So I talked to him for a few minutes already.
Welcome back.
Do you know of any rumors?
If you need light armor...
Yeah, I heard that one before. Well, I can't press him about the stolen goods, because I already did that, and he was just evasive. Told me that his goods are legally obtained. And it's rather because people are accusing him of illegal items, that he obtains illegal wear. I'm not sure if he's really aware of it. But let's go see what he has.
Only quality goods for sale here. What can I interest you in?
It should be pretty cheap because he sells it at lower prices. All kinds of stuff. I don't have the money. He sells all kinds of stuff. I was gonna say shit, but might be shit. Arrows, close. Imperial breeches, those are nice. Ingredients, and some books even. Books I've read already. Miscellaneous stuff, repair hammers. Just a jack of all trades, really. Well, goodbye for now.
Goodbye.
Let me check your books. These are the ones you sell. Can I check upstairs? The Copious Coinpurse. That's a nice name, though. So his private quarters are closed. What is this? Like a brand? On the counter? We can't go in his basement. And what is this? A note? Sit up against the wall, drop your head between your knees, breathe deeply while reciting the 7 aphorisms to Akatosh. Swallow the ointment. In a short while, the hangover will be gone. Who wrote that? You? Is that like a recipe or advice? What is this? Paintbrush. More stuff on the ledger. There's a recipe. For a potion of cure disease, grind clanfear claws and mandrake root into a fine powder using a mortar and pestle. It will remain somewhat gritty. It can be mixed in with almost any liquid, but ordinary clear water is safest. There's a book, a Les Root song. I know that one already. So I guess goodbye for now. And the next step for me is to tail him. Because I want to do this quest. Let's go check it out. Let's make it active. Maybe it already is active. Current quests. Unfriendly competition. So a group calling themselves the Society of Concerned Merchants has hired me to investigate a new store that's just opened up in the market district with ridiculously low prices. They suspect the owner must be doing something illegal, like I said. Just wait, visit Thoronir, I did that. Now I spoke to him. He hasn't revealed any information. He's hiding something. I should keep an eye on him and watch what he does after his shop closes. So that's what I'm going to do. What time is it? 7 PM. So it should close very soon. So let's wait over here. Let's see and wait. For him to leave. That's Ushija, already met him. And then I guess we just have to follow him. It's Fredus. That's like a Friday. Does it mean that the shops stay open longer? Small talk still going strong in the city.
We're all talking about the Emperor's murder. We have no Emperor and no heir. That's never happened before. I suppose we should all be worried. Isn't there something just wrong?
This weird guy again.
Discount spells?
Agarmir. He's like a Nord.
Bye.
Alright, Thoronir, time to get out. Although first edition is still open. Maybe shops close at 8. I don't want to wait because I'm afraid that I will miss him. Coming out of the door. Least time goes pretty quickly. 7:44, now 7:50. I don't think it might be even 1 second. Like 1 second in real life is 1 minute in Oblivion. How many minutes does that take to complete a day? Like an hour? No, can't be right. 24 minutes.
What can I do for you?
Okay, Fintius is leaving, so the shop is closed over here. There's Thoronir. Okay, let's follow him. Let's keep our distance. Maybe we should even crawl. No, yeah, I'm not sure if crawling helps, but let's just keep our distance. Where are you going? You are... What? Are you going in here? Or are you
How
going...
goes it?
Did you go into a fighting... No, okay, he's going to the inn. That's where I met him before.
Hello again.
Okay, he's just chilling.
What can I do for you?
I'm not sure how... Maybe he suspects me now. That's Vintius again. I don't think he realizes I'm following him yet, so let's just sit here. And wait for him. No, I can't see him like this. So let's wait on the other side. And basically wait for him to leave. And talk to the guests that might arrive. Although I've talked to them already. That's Rufus again.
How goes it?
Alright. I think I'm just going to wait. And I'm going to come back to you after he moves. And then we just tail him. Now, before we do that though, more people just stumbled in. Calendil, I've met you already. Mara Rufus.
Evening.
Peloniria, yes, I all know you. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit here. And in the next video, I will be ready to tail him.